the Boerne Independent School District to order. Establish a quorum. We have a full quorum. We have Maritza Gonzalez-Cooper, we have Jessica Davila, Garrett Wilson, Superintendent Dr. Kristen Kraft, myself, Carlin Fryer, Rich Senna, Christy Schmidt, and Joe Tidwell. At this point in time, we're going to go into closed session for discussion of first personnel under pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, deliberations regarding matters related to employment, appointments, resignations, terminations, retirements, and reassignments. Item B, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.0821, personally identifiable information about public school student. Item C is pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, consider and discuss board member roles and responsibilities. And item D is discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, which falls under Texas Government Code 551.072. So it is 5:02, and we will go into closed session. We're there. So it is now 6:30 on Monday, February 26th. I will convene the open session of the Board of Trustees of the Boerne Independent School District. We'll reestablish our quorum. We have all board members present. We have Maritza Gonzalez-Cooper. We have Jessica Davila, Garrett Wilson, Superintendent Dr. Kristen Kraft, myself, Carlin Fryer, Rich Senna, Christy Schmidt, and Joe Tidwell. At this point in time, Mr. Benway, I will turn it over to you for the introduction for the pledge and moment of silence.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, would you please rise? And gentlemen, please remove your caps. And please welcome the award-winning Boerne champion JROTC Color Guard to present tonight's colors. Leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge tonight are student council members from Herff and Van Robb Elementary Schools.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And now please remain standing for a moment of silence and prayer. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. President, Board of Trustees, our students from Herff and Van Robb have some excellent questions for our board members this evening.
Awesome. Thank you for leading us in the pledges. You would give us your name and then ask your question.
My name is Charlotte, and my question is, did you want to be a school board member in Boerne, Texas to make changes or preserve it and keep it from changing?
Wow. Does it have to be one? Does it have to be one or the other? Because I think my answer would be that there's a blend of that, right? One of the things that I think we as a board and the district as administration, we want to maintain the charm of Boerne. And so we do things that we try to make sure, even though we're a very big school district across the state now, we still want to hold and have the small town Boerne charm. But we also very much know that today's employers demand more, and we expect more out of our students and our teachers, and we just have to continue to try to do things better. And so we celebrate victories, but we also look for ways that we can improve everything that we do. So we do want to change in some of those aspects too. Anybody else?
Good afternoon. My name is Kaden Ratliff. I would like to know if all of y'all grew up in Boerne.
Mr. Tidwell? Dr. Tidwell?
Mr. will be fine, thank you. I did, and Carlin grew up very close to here, part of the community, and we have a mix of people from, that've been here as kids up to have been here for, not sure who the most recent is, so we kind of cover the whole gamut. But Carlin and I both graduated from Boerne, and even when I joined the school board, there were still 3 teachers or staff, and they remembered me.
Hi, Coach Leach.
My name is Oliver, and I would like to know how you cope when something you really wanted and supported doesn't pass the vote.
Oliver, that's a good question. And it happens once in a while, you know. The one thing that comes to mind was we've built a lot of new schools over the last decade, and we were having a vote on the naming of a school. And we had a committee that gave us 3 different choices, and they were all good choices. But it was clear to me that we should pick this particular name. But I was on the short end of a 4-3 vote, and they picked a different name. And at first I thought, well, they really didn't know what they were doing or talking about, you know. But, I did talk to one of the trustees afterwards who's sitting to my right, two seats down. And I asked him for his point of view, and he gave me a really, really good explanation. And at that point I said, okay.
Why you were wrong.
And I said, okay, I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with the decision, and it turned out to be a good one. But I think the key thing is, like, one of the main things a board has to do is to adopt a budget. And we don't just adopt a budget at one meeting in a vacuum. We have a number of workshops. We spend a lot of time going over the numbers, figuring out how much revenue we're going to have, what we're going to be able to spend to balance our budget. So there's a lot to it. So when you vote, it's usually a 7-0 vote on a budget, but a lot of discussion has gone into it. And I think if you govern from the perspective of trying to understand other people's point of view and really have a good, healthy discussion, that's how you make good decisions. Because ultimately, that's what you want to do, is make good decisions for our community, our students, our staff, et cetera. It was a good question.
Hi, my name is Emma Sayers. I'm secretary, and I'm from first, and we're both from Van Rob Elementary. We have a question for you. When you were in elementary school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So for me, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher ever since elementary school, because I had amazing teachers, and for Christmas I would ask for chalkboards and red pens, and I would rush home from school to play school. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I loved being in the classroom. So I went to college, and then I taught in Luling, Texas, and then I moved here to Boerne to teach at Boerne Middle School North.
What'd you want to be, Jessica?
My name is Camden Fritz, and I'm the president of Van Rob Elementary. And my question for you today is, what is your main responsibility as a board member?
Anybody want to take it?
So there's really three main things that the board does. And one, you'll hear us always say when we get asked a question like this individually, we don't really make many decisions at all, but we do make decisions as a group when we vote. And that's on really three main areas. That's employing, so hiring and firing the superintendent, setting the budget, and then overseeing and setting and approving policy at the district. And so policy is just like the really high level how people are supposed to do things.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Christopher Fornoff, and I'm the treasurer of Van Rob Student Council. And I have a question for you. What advice would you give to an elementary student today?
What advice to an elementary school student? Garrett?
I've got lots of advice. Yeah, I would say read a lot. When you're in elementary school, there's just the world is so wide on the amount you can learn, and so be curious. Don't say, well, I'm only in 4th or 5th grade. I don't need to worry about that till later. Like, go figure out how it works, science, all that. I mean, just read everything you get your hands on, and that's what I would tell my 5th grade self.
Thank you.
Language in elementary school.
So do you think, so we normally ask questions, but you're the only one left. So everybody's probably, grown-ups are telling you what to do all the time in 5th grade. So is there something, kind of flipping your question around, is there something you think we should know that we don't? You don't have to say anything, but here's your shot.
I don't think there's anything, really.
Oh, I appreciate that. There's a lot you can help.
So
Thank you very much.
let's get this more specific, Christopher. If you were superintendent of schools for one day, what would you do? Give more recess?
Oh, that's definitely first. Give more free time.
Longer lunches.
Oh yeah.
Pizza every day.
You'd be a great board member. You're a consensus builder, so you're great.
Thank you very much for the question.
All right, Brian, we're going to go back to you for commendations.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kraft, and our guests, if our board and Dr. Kraft could come on down for our photo portion. If this is your first ever Boerne ISD board meeting, welcome. What we'd like to do at the very beginning is showcase the very best of Boerne ISD. Tonight, we have a total of 7 commendations, which will celebrate over 100 total Boerne students and staff. So we're very proud that you're here. At the end of commendations, though, we'd like you to stay a little bit later. We have a special video that we want to play to honor another student as well. Our first commendation tonight honors state band qualifiers from Boerne and Champion High School. Let's give them a round of applause. Boerne High School students Zachary Fonza and Cadence Nance, as well as Champion High School student Julius Patch, qualified for the All-State Band thanks to finishing in first place during their audition at the area competition. Beginning each fall, over 70,000 high school students across the state audition in their region. A select group of musicians advances to compete against musicians from other regions in their area. The highest ranking musicians judged at the area competitions qualify to perform at the state level. These students you see here tonight performed at the Texas Music Educators Association Conference in San Antonio. Congratulations to our all-state band members. And while we're setting up for our photo, are the parents and friends of these fine students here? If so, could you raise your hands? We want to make sure we thank you for supporting your students here tonight. Congratulations and thank you all for being here tonight. Our next commendation celebrates the 2024 Boerne ISD Spanish Spelling Bee winners. Come on down. BISD students in all grade levels competed for the top prize. In the elementary division, Kendall fourth grader Dana Findley took first place, while Boerne Middle School North sixth grader Daniel Salik Mario was the champion in middle school, and Boerne Greyhounds sophomore Diana Dominguez won the high school category. BISD crowned the top 3 students in each category. The students you see here tonight competed in the Region 20 Spanish Spelling Bee earlier in February against students from across our area. Congratulations to our Spanish Spelling Bee winners for 2024. And can we have the parents raise your hands of these students? We want to thank you for being here and celebrating your students. Congratulations, felicidades in the Spanish Spelling Bee competition. Our next commendation congratulates the 2024 President's Volunteer Service Award winners. Come on down, let's give these students a round of applause. A total of nearly 30 students from Boerne and Champion High School, as well as Boerne Middle School North and Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary School, earned this award for being exceptional volunteers in our community. This award honors individuals whose service positively impacts communities in every corner of the nation and inspires those around them to take action. Students earned either a gold, silver, or bronze award based on the number of volunteer hours they completed. Volunteer hours range from 50 hours to over 250 hours in a 12-month period. The students you see here tonight volunteered a total of over 3,500 hours. Let's give them a hand for that. And 80% of their hours volunteered were in Kendall County. Let's hear it for our President's Volunteer Service Award winners. And can we have our parents of these fine students raise your hands too? We want to thank you for supporting their students and for all the hard work they've done. Congratulations and thanks for your fine service to our community. Our next commendation honors the Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary PTO for a record-setting donation. Let's give these fine ladies a round of applause. Great community members. The Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary School PTO has raised funds to construct a modern 1,200 square foot outdoor pavilion classroom. This outdoor classroom will utilize a country-style feel that will have ADA access to accommodate students at every level. This is an incredible time in Fair Oaks Ranch history and is the culmination of 3+ years of planning, designing, fundraising, and perseverance. The funds raised by the Fair Oaks Ranch PTO and the cost of the project are almost $268,000, with the anticipated completion in May of 2024. The Fair Oaks PTO President Heather Carlston and members of the PTO will present a check to Boerne ISD. Let's give a huge hand to this PTO from Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary. Thank you, ladies. A lot of hard work went into that, and we really appreciate your support of Fair Oaks Ranch and Boerne ISD. Our next commendation celebrates Currington Elementary, Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary, and Herf Elementary, who have been selected by the Flippin Group as Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase Schools nominees for the 23-24 school year. Let's hear it for these fantastic elementary schools in Boerne ISD. Each of the three schools have earned this honor before. Fair Oaks Ranch has been named a National Showcase School 5 times. Currington has been named 3 times, and Herf was honored for the first time last year. National Showcase schools are chosen annually through a rigorous selection process that includes measuring key performance indicators, gathering campus data, and surveying staff and students. The winning schools nationwide will be announced at the end of April. Congratulations, Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase Schools nominees. Congratulations. We look forward to having you back when you are named one of the winners across the country. Our next commendation honors the Boerne ISD Business and Financial Services Department for winning the Texas Association of School Business Officials prestigious Award of Excellence in Financial Management. Let's give them a big hand. This is a huge award. Established in 2020, the award is given to Texas school districts, open enrollment charter schools, and education service centers that demonstrate professional standards, best practices, and innovations in the area of financial management and reporting. The criteria to qualify for the Award of Excellence in Financial Management is stringent, based on financial accounting and reporting guidelines identified by the Texas Education Agency Financial Accountability System Resource Guide. Applicants must submit across 11 key areas, which are reviewed by a TASBO accounting subcommittee. They were just in Houston last week to accept this award. Congratulations on the TASBO Award of Excellence in Financial Management. Congratulations. We appreciate all that you all do. Our final commendation this evening recognizes a standout group of employees for their tireless service to Boerne ISD as they, let's give them a hand first. They are non-bus drivers who have consistently driven regular bus routes to assist with a shortage of regular drivers. These individuals have gone above and beyond the call of duty when they were asked to pitch in addition to their regular full-time duties. A few of the invitees tonight were sick and cannot make it, but we want to make sure we announce all of their names for this fantastic bout of service. Coach Joey Cantu from Champion High School, Coach Jeremy Boatwright, Boerne Middle School North, Paul Everett from Technology, Coach Jeffrey Menchie from Boerne Middle School South, Coach Lance Kane from Boerne Middle School North, Eduardo Escobedo from the Warehouse, and Julie Cortez from the 18-plus program. If you see these employees around the district, thank them for their service and for what they're doing to help our transportation department. Let's give them a huge hand for what they do. Thank you all for being here. Mr. President, that concludes the commendation portion. But again, if y'all would stay a few minutes later, we have a fantastic video that honors another student. We don't want you to miss that. Mr. President, I yield the floor back to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Brian. Next item on our agenda is our character counts section. So the February edition of Character Counts is going to feature Coach Stephen Mackey's 2 words, game time leadership, and motivational presentation, and his on-campus involvement with our students and staff. Coach Leach.
Well, I've got to introduce our guest. This is Samuel McKee, and he's a 5th grader at Fabra. And so he's got a few notes that he's going to bring out here later. But Art's going to... Oh, of course, like you introduced it, Mackey has game. And we started out 5 years ago with the leadership. So, and then we down in middle school. And then 3 years ago, we started game day. Game day is every Friday. And it's in our PE classes at all 7 elementary, all 8. And what we do, we play games, introduce them to different games. We have history lessons. Then Sam will kind of talk a little bit more about those lessons. It's 18 lessons, and if you have PE one Friday, you don't back. So it takes us a year to go through. Start again next year. This is Stephen Mackey. Terry Galt. All right, good morning, boys and girls. How are you today? Are you guys ready to have some fun today? Awesome. All right. Is that when you guys are watching game day, there are literally thousands of other elementary students across Texas that are watching game day with you. We wrote a script, and also give yourselves a big round of applause. And let's have a good one today. Thank y'all so much. It works out well because they see him on Fridays, and then when he comes to leadership council, we take him. He's like a rock star. Isn't that right? Pretty cool. And there you see, this is game. Video. Friday, we have warm up, cool down. Has to do with character development. Of course, this is course character development. Start in the 2nd grade, because if you wait till you get to high school, you're behind. And one of the big things that we're doing in UIL right now is sports. And when we go to our state, that's all we're talking about is sportsmanship and how can we teach sports students, but sometimes to our parents. And this is where we start. We start in 2nd grade, go 2nd through 5th. And then in middle school, we athletics. Mainly on Fridays, we talk about it. We have leadership council also too. I just wanted to bring Sam here. His PE teacher is sick, so it's now we're carrying the water today. So Sam, talk a little bit about our program and what it means to you. Not only
Hello, my name is Samuel McGee. I'm a 5th grade student at Popper Elementary. Game day to me is a great way to have an engaging and interesting way to learn about it will help us so much in day life. We always learn about new countries and people. For example, one video that stuck to me is about Roberto. His dad grew up working a lot for planting. Just made 45 cents. So he had to help his dad before it wasn't easy, but it he half. Later on, he became a Major League Baseball player, and that was back. So I think it stuck. I that the lesson really stuck to me for perseverance. That you have to get it done the first time, right? You have to really work stuff that you made, or may not. It really good. So.
Wow. Thank you, Sam, for being here and doing that. Thank you, Coach Leach, as always, for your leadership. Yes. Mr. Benway, Boerne ISD highlight videos.
Yes, Mr. President, we're excited to show you two videos tonight. The first one is the February BEF Wow moment, which will feature a look inside one of our classrooms, and the February Student Limelight winner, who is here tonight. So let's look at the Boerne ISD video highlights.
Hi, my name is Ivy. And my name is Olive. Welcome to Currington Elementary School. Today's wow moment will be in Miss Bodie's classroom where the students are learning about audiobooks and the 3D printer.
Thank you for supporting every student, every teacher, and every school in Boerne ISD.
This month's Limelight recipient is Mackenzie Clark, a 5th grader from Kendall Elementary. Mackenzie exhibits the core virtue of confidence. She is always willing to try new things and will work hard to achieve new goals. Mackenzie loves a challenge and has the tenacity to stick with difficult problems until a reasonable solution has been reached. When not in school, Mackenzie plays softball with her friends. Mackenzie's parents are her role models. She admires them because they taught her how to be a better friend as well as supporting her school and athletic practices. Mackenzie would love to be a sports car designer when she grows up. She also wants to help the homeless people in her community by clothing and feeding them. She has taken on the role of technology coordinator at the end of every day, and we are so grateful for her leadership. We are proud to recognize Mackenzie Clark as our Limelight recipient and an example of a Kendall Knight. The Limelight is sponsored by HEB. Thank you for supporting students and teachers in Boerne ISD.
So we're proud of that video for a couple of reasons. Obviously, BEF plays a huge role in what we do here, and so it was fun to go inside the classroom at Currington. But then our Limelight recipient, this is only one student from each of our elementary and middle schools receives this award. This is a district-wide recognition, and Mackenzie came highly recommended by Kendall. I want to thank Miss Escamilla for the voiceover on the video, and without further ado, here is Mackenzie Clark, our February Limelight recipient.
Well, Mackenzie, first, congratulations. Obviously, it's a big honor for you to have been selected. You're a busy person.
I am.
So how do you organize your day to accomplish all the things that you have to do every day?
I really don't. It's more my parents, but I've kind of have like a schedule that I do each day. And then I usually get home, I do some stuff, and then sometimes I'll have softball practice, sometimes I'll have basketball practice. So it's kind of like I just look and I see, oh, I have this today, and I do my stuff before that, and then I can go and figure out what I'm doing that day.
I love it.
Couldn't help but notice your Longhorn attire. Is that where you want to go to college?
Yes.
Sports car design. That's cool. So how'd you get into that?
Well, I love playing with Legos, first of all. Just seeing all the pieces fit. I have a lot of big Lego sets, and they're just cool to me how everything has, the Lego designers and people can make everything fit together and make it, be something bigger.
Do you have a favorite of Lego?
I don't know. Yeah.
What's the largest one you've built?
Probably the Lego Technic. It's a Jeep.
And how long did that take you?
45 days.
Okay. Thank you.
What's your favorite sports car?
I don't know.
Any other
What kind of car would you want? As someone who loves cars, what's your dream car?
Well, that's hard.
There's too many to choose from.
Yeah. I don't really have one right now. I kind of just like them all. So to me, any nice car.
I understand that. Well, again, congratulations and thank you for all you do. in
Thank you.
leadership. All right, next item on the agenda is visitor comments and testimonials, and there was no one that signed up to speak tonight. Next item on the agenda would be the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or modifications?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next item is to consider action, if any, regarding items discussed in closed session. We do have one item this time.
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve the items discussed in closed session regarding personnel matters.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passed. Consent agenda. Any items to highlight or pull from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. And Dr. Kraft, I think we have an introduction.
Yes, sir. I am pleased to introduce to our community our new Director of Transportation, Melanie Lee, if she could stand and wave. We are so fortunate to have Melanie with us. Ms. Lee is a longtime educator. She is experienced as a campus administrator, which is a great skill set to have moving into a position of being responsible for a district's transportation. And she is an experienced transportation director from Venus ISD. So thank you so much for joining the Boerne team.
I've received such a warm welcome since I've been here. And I'm just so proud to make Boerne ISD my home. Today is my first day, and I look forward to seeing more.
Thank you. Welcome to the team.
May have been your first official day, but we did notice your timing was impeccable to show up at the luncheon on Friday, so that was great. Mr. Stahl and his crew, the operations department, did a transportation luncheon on Friday in recognizing our transportation department, so it was a good time for you to be there. We'll move on to governance and start with board member reports. Maritza?
Okay, for Boerne Education Foundation, we had the Giving Day on February the 14th. It was really great. We raised over $40,000, so thank you to everyone that donated. And at any point, you can donate to Boerne Education Foundation. And as a reminder, every dollar we raise through there stays in the district and affects every single school and student. So thank you all for that. Just a reminder that we do have Rock On coming up on March 23rd. They are currently selling tickets for that event, so we encourage you to buy yours and join us that evening.
Jessica?
We have a communications meeting this week. Tomorrow? When is it? It's this week. I'll look at my calendar and we'll know when it is. But we will be meeting to discuss some goal setting for district-wide communications.
Great. Garrett?
We had the first budget workshop of many, and that went really well. So it's the start of the process to set the budget here in a few months. And I thought it was informative. So
Very much so. Tidwell? No? Okay. Christine?
The whole child committee and program evaluations, I do not have a new update. Those committees will meet this week as well as next week. As far as PTO, Dr. Kraft and Dr. O'Hare met with the PTO presidents again this month just to collaborate, and a state of the district by Dr. Kraft. And as part of our efforts to provide the academy with a PTO, the secondary campuses pitch in every week. So, Mr. Morning, you will get lunch tomorrow from Boss PTO. You and yours too. Yes.
Yeah, as far as legislative update, we've discussed this before, but it was a highly unusual 88th session of the legislature that started in January of 23, and then there were no less than four special sessions. In the second special session, as we know, significant property tax relief was approved. It saves the average Boerne ISD homeowner about $900 in reduced property taxes, and it's seen our tax rate go from $1.04 to under 67 cents over the past 4 years. Unfortunately, issues regarding teacher pay, retention were not addressed in this session. There were $4 billion budgeted for K through 12 public ed, but not specifically allocated. There were not bills passed to specifically allocate that $4 billion, and that would have really helped every district in the state quite a bit. So we certainly go into the next session, which will start in January of 2025. We will be aggressive, as we always are, with our legislative priorities, and we will spend a lot of time in Austin, just like we always do, promoting adequate funding for public education. From everything we hear, there will be no fifth special session. The focus is on the primary, which is March 5th. So if you haven't voted yet, get out there and vote.
Early voting dates, Rich? What does that close this week?
Goes through this Friday. In Kendall County, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and I believe it's the same in Bear.
All right, I think that wraps up our board member reports. And we'll move on to, or that wraps up governments from board members. So Dr. Kraft, you're up. Superintendent report.
All right, thank you, President Fryer. Board members, tonight I'd like to bring you some updates from CTE, Pre-K, Fine Arts, and Athletics. As you saw from the many students recognized tonight, just those recognitions continue on and on. Champion High School sophomore Addison Blake, she placed first in veterinary science out of a competition involving 97 schools, and she's headed to state leadership conference in Galveston in April. We've had 6 UIL state semifinalists in digital animation and documentary. And this is our first year to offer the real estate pathway, and Coach Christopher Carter at Boerne has recruited over 50 students to start this path for next school year, and all the other CTE teachers are heavily recruiting for their programs. Cybersecurity cohorts for next year have 67 students, and the health science cohort has 201 students joining those P-TECH programs. We're very excited about that. In the area of early childhood, we have 34 elementary teachers, instructional coaches, and an assistant principal finishing up their second year of LETRS training. They voluntarily signed up for the commitment to learning and truly are becoming district literacy leaders. These teachers have put forth over 130 hours of training in the science of teaching reading, and we appreciate their dedication, and you see results in the classroom with great instruction. In Fine Arts, our rising middle schoolers are busy selecting their courses for middle school, and our Fine Arts Showcase program gave our 5th graders the opportunity to experience all the electives options at middle school, and it was truly student-led at all of our middle schools, from the drum line to the question and answer sessions. And congratulations to our middle school one-act plays, Voss and North, for placing 2nd and 3rd in recent competitions. Then every time we turn around, we have state-bound athletes and winning, doing very well at state competition. The Boerne girls swim team finished 3rd in the 4A state meet. The champion girls swim team finished 3rd in the 5A state meet. The Charger swim girls 200 medley of Kate Devlin, Kate Canales, Cameron Kellogg, and Cora Skoog won the 5A state championship. In the boys 200 free relay of Will Tolar, Will Harrison, Jake Canales, and Bexton Harrison won the 5A state championship. Bexton and Cora won the bronze medal in the 50 free at the 5A state meet as well. I also like to wish our basketball teams good luck. Boerne High School plays in the state tournament this weekend, and our champion boys basketball team is well on their way in the playoffs as well. So those are just a few of the updates happening around Boerne. So I have one more item to share, an intruder detection report. So to update our board, 7 of the 12 Boerne campuses have had intruder detection audits conducted to date, and we will continue to report security findings. Boerne staff receive training, refreshers, and updates throughout the spring. Thank you.
Move on to the next item. It's under instruction and go over our progress monitoring of district data. Ms. Flores.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Kraft, and members of the board. Tonight I bring to you the results from our middle of year testing for all of our universal screeners and other adaptive platforms. All that I will be discussing tonight ties directly to our scorecard under student success and human capital as it pertains to professional learning for our teachers. The first area I'm going to cover is reading language arts. For House Bill 3 requires a common approach to diagnostics, and TEA has identified tools for districts to use to meet these requirements. For pre-K, we use Circle, progress monitoring, and for grades K through 2, we use M-Class by Amplify. In the provision of high-quality, full-day pre-K for our 4-year-old students, districts must collect data regarding student progress in 5 areas: language and communication, reading, writing, math, and health and wellness. These assessments are conducted 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year. All assessments provide teachers with a holistic understanding of each student and assist in providing targeted instruction. This chart illustrates our English pre-K students rated holistically in the 5 areas as compared to the beginning of the year. Please keep in mind that the expectations for each area assessed by the middle of the year has much higher expectations than from the beginning of the year, and that not all students progress at those same milestones at the same rate. Skills assessed are for language and communication is knowledge of vocabulary through pictures and speed and fluency. For reading is letter naming and fluency and how fast they can identify letters. Writing is recognizable, age-appropriate letters and being able to write their own name. Math is rote counting, shape, naming, and number discrimination. And health and wellness and writing is positive social behaviors, classroom community, and safety. For our Spanish pre-K classrooms, we noticed a little bit of a dip in the area of health and wellness. What we found is that students are making progress in these areas, just not enough growth as expected. But we are expecting for end of year benchmarks to be met for these students. Plus, keep in mind there's only 3 classrooms across the district, so these are relatively small numbers. We will continue to work with campuses to calibrate on the rubrics. We set instructional goals for each student, and we will continue to monitor their progress. In accordance with TEA, Boerne ISD administers the state-adopted literacy assessment M-Class DIBELS for grades K through 2 to measure reading development and comprehension, again at the beginning, middle, and the end of the year. Areas assessed include phonemic awareness and phonics, word reading, and fluency. And for our second graders, comprehension is added. So this following chart is our district beginning of year and middle of year results for kindergarten. And based on the data, the middle of year scores indicate that most students are maintaining skills and demonstrating growth in both languages. And as we continue to establish proper literacy pathways in both languages for our dual language students, know that both EB and non-EB students test in both languages. So it's important to note that in the early grades, instruction on foundational reading skills is primarily taught in Spanish for these students. And this is for K through 2. So knowing this, we saw more evidence of a mid-year decline in growth with our first grade students. Keep in mind, again, the difficulty of the assessment increases from beginning to middle of year. The performance goals are higher at each assessment point than the same skills and performance level being required. So although our students are demonstrating evidence of growth in foundational literacy skills, some are still struggling with automaticity, meaning how fast they can say a word, or how fast they can identify. So we're focusing on that for this last half of the year, and so we should be able to meet our end of year benchmarks for first grade. Now for second grade, we continue to show growth and make progress, and so we met our expected targets for second grade. The slides that follow categorize our students into distinct tiers. So each assessment has different cut points for each level. So think of tier 1 as all students receive high quality instruction, differentiated to meet their needs, and are screened on a periodic basis. Tier 2 students are those not making expected progress in the classroom and are provided with increasingly target instruction, perhaps in small groups. Tier 3 students receive the most individualized intensive interventions that target the student's skill deficits, and think of one-on-one intervention for tier 3. So 20% of our students, roughly around, should be placed in tier 2, and about the top 5% are for tier 3 instruction. iStation is an online computer adaptive reading assessment and supplemental curriculum tool that is utilized in grades K through 8. The ISIP early reading assessment includes data in 5 key areas: phonemic awareness, alphabetic knowledge, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. This chart shows the overall district data for grades K through 8 and progress from beginning of year to the middle of the year. The middle of year screener data indicates overall growth and or maintenance of the assessed reading skills. The screener data also allows our campuses and teachers to use the data to organize resources and target instruction for students who need the most. For Tier 1, iStation's cut points are 40th percentile and above. For Tier 2, it's between 20 and 40%, and Tier 3 is 20% and lower. Here is a chart of each grade level's middle of year results. Skill growth and expectation criteria become progressively more difficult with each assessment. In addition, this data does include all of our students in kinder and first, including dual language students whose primary language of instruction is in Spanish. Now, this black line indicates Tier 1 results at the beginning of the year. So for grades 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 7, we saw an increase in Tier 1, which is what we want to see. In grades 1, 6, and 8, percentages stayed roughly the same. We did see a small dip in kinder. The growth criteria for kinder has a higher expectation for growth at the middle of the year. And so also due to the 90-10 model for our dual language students, their growth in English skills are not at the same expected rate that iStation predicts. So we do anticipate to close this gap by the end of the year. We historically see this every year. Read 180 is a blended intervention system that is delivered in the courses listed here, middle school RLA principles and high school reading, practical writing, and English 1 through 4 resource. We have currently 104 students enrolled in Read 180 and 20 enrolled in Systems 44. And based off their beginning of year screener, that divides them into separate pathways. In past years at the middle school level, reading intervention was delivered through an elective course. The students had an entire block dedicated to literacy support in addition to their reading, but unfortunately what we found was many students and parents were opting out of that additional elective course. So this year we have implemented Read 180 into the reading language arts class and just folded everything in for certain sections. So now students can't opt out. So this hybrid approach is helping a lot more students. Now, unfortunately for our middle of year, we encountered a technical glitch with our Reading 180 system, so we were only able to calculate and capture data for 69 of our students. So of those 69, 45% of those students have shown Lexile growth, 29% have met their end of year goals already, and are continuing to grow. 12% of those students are meeting twice their percentage goals, and 9% students are advancing enough to obtain a higher level on a more difficult scale. So these are very good results.
That would indicate, if you add those up, and I want to make sure I understand, that's 95% of those 69 students have made progress. Good.
Again, we'll have better end-of-year data to report because, again, technically, we were not able to capture all the data for all our students. And just so that you know, students spend about 18 minutes on average per session per week on this software. So for our systems 44, there's 20 students. We are seeing growth in these students. 30% have Lexile gains and 25% have already met their end-of-year goals. Next subject is mathematics. So new this year is MAP growth testing, which is a nationally normed and independently verified screener for math. It is a comprehensive assessment tool that helps us make data-informed decisions for our students. And we test all students K through 5 at 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year. So we're going to begin with kinder and first. These two charts show kinder and first beginning and middle of year assessments by tier levels. MAP, tier 1 cut point is greater than, tier 1 is 61, the 61st percentile or higher. Tier 2 is between 41 and the 60th percentile, and tier 3 is the 40th percentile or lower. This is the first formal accountability math measure we have used for K1 and 2, and we're discovering opportunities for growth. We expected implementation dip this first year. We're currently working with each campus to make sure that that everything is correct, and teachers are calibrating with these data results. Our lowest scoring items were geometry, data analysis, and money manipulation. And this was expected because these are 4th 9 weeks standards, and we expect an increase again at the end of the year. This is the first year MAP has been given, and the first year growth and achievement are measured as compared to the national average. And so we're using this data to really create targeted interventions for our students. It's also important to note that the cut points are kind of like a moving target and are more rigorous as the year progresses, and they change by grade level. The second grade test in MAP for the middle of the year is a much more rigorous, it's very much like the STAR test than the other grade levels because we're considering that a transition year and getting them ready for that assessment. So this dip was expected, and again, we should recover by the end of the year. Our second graders are still learning how to navigate the program as well. Because the middle of year cut points are higher than the beginning, then percentages maintaining or staying steady is really reflecting growth. And so third grade percentages are steady, but show expected growth as well. And our grades 4 and 5 are doing very well and better than anticipated. Zern is a supplemental application that supports Eureka Math in elementary school. Zern is well supported by TEA. TEA recently reported that students who complete 3 or more on grade level lessons in Zern show an average gain of 53 points on their scale STAR scores. So we're on track with our middle of year Zern goal. They're using Zern for over an hour a week and are completing at least 2.5 lessons per week. Our end of year goal is 90% of our students at 3 lessons per week. And so it's available for all of our elementary students. IXL is an online platform that helps students master essential skills at their own pace, and we embed usage of this program in grades 6 through Algebra 1. This chart is a comparison of our 6th grade students from beginning of year to middle of year. 6th graders are showing the movement that we strive to see, a reduction in students requiring Tier 3 intervention and an increase in Tier 1. Now, the cut points for IXL do vary by grade level, but Tier 1 means that they are completing grade level work without any errors. And our data is actually very comparable to last year at this point of time. This is the result of our 7th graders. Now, our 7th grade honors students are included and reflected in this data, but our 7th graders who take algebra, which there is a small number who do, are not in this data. So that's why we see a small dip in Tier 1. 8th grade students were not tested just because of the amount of testing that they have to take in January. Algebra 1 students are showing great improvement on IXL. The need for Tier 3 interventions is declining, and Tier 1 is increasing. And our goal is 27 questions per week. I'm sorry, it's 30 questions per week, and right now we're averaging around 27 questions per week for all of our students in grade 6 through Algebra 1. The STAR interim test is one piece of our data puzzle, and it's provided to districts from TEA. The interim measures student understanding of a broader span of student expectations to monitor progress and identify needs. It can relative performance on the STAR. It's fully aligned to our TEKS, and results show an average of the percentage of predicted meets level. So we did have to administer this assessment a little earlier than normal because we had required field testing from TEA, which kind of messed with our calendar. So we did test the interim a lot earlier than we normally would. So again, many standards had not been taught yet when we administered, and we saw that with our 4th grade math. But everybody else so far is on target, but again, we just use this as one point of data.
Those 30 questions per week, is that timed?
It's self-paced, but there is a time block within the teaching block that teachers allow for that.
And so is that how many we're targeting that they have to answer every week, or is it just throughout the week?
The usage throughout, their class period.
Okay, thank you.
Texas TEA has developed an innovative through-the-year assessment model as a possible replacement for the STAR summative tests. A through-year assessment model refers to a progress monitoring system that provides students multiple opportunities throughout the school year to demonstrate their mastery. So instead of just one day of testing for STAR, they are piloting a program where it's 3 opportunities throughout the year to test for mastery.
And those 3 times, what kind of length is the tests?
I know it can be done in a class period.
Okay, so as opposed to a 4 or 5 hour.
Correct. So the first opportunity was in October. The last one that we just completed was the middle of January. The next one coming up is right before spring break. So this is a pilot. What we decided to do, last year we piloted this at Voss Middle School with our 8th grade, just U.S. history students. This year we decided to do all 3 middle schools. So all 3 middle schools are part of the assessment. Now this year they were able to give us predictive data. So this is what it looks like. So far, we've had 2 opportunities. The raw scores are very similar to last year. However, we are showing growth between opportunity 1 and 2 this year that we did not see last year. So we're very excited about this. And the prediction is new this year and is showing significant growth in the approaches and meets. Now, even though there's seems to be a dip in the masters, the scale scores were higher. So I'm still looking into why that is, because it should be higher. We are showing growth all the way across. And all of this data is used to create targeted intervention groups for our students, and teachers and administrators use this data to help drive PLC conversations and to monitor and adjust instruction. Any questions?
Any questions?
So just to be clear, this is the first year that all 3 middle schools will do the pilot instead of their STAR for history?
No, they will still take the STAR at the
They'll do
end.
both.
This is kind of like instead of a benchmark or instead of interim test for practice, again, it's just a pilot. And there's only certain subjects that the state is doing this with.
Okay, thank
8th grade history was one of them.
And has the state indicated how long or how many years they would want to run this pilot as a determination whether they want to change STAR? Do we have
That I
any-
do not know.
have no-
I can definitely look into that for you.
Yeah, sure they do.
Anybody who wanted to apply, so we applied last year, and then we applied again this year. It's good data. The reports that we get from that system are excellent.
Any other questions?
I had 5 questions. You answered all of them during your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Move on to Administrative Services, Special Ed and Section 504 report. Annie Sider.
Good evening, school board members, President Fryer and Dr. Kraft. Tonight we're going to touch on special education in Section 504. First area we'll cover is always looking at the district scorecard. We look at student success is so important to always see growth, but also looking at customer service. In our business, we always want to make sure that we're building relationships not only with the students, but also their families. This screen right here shows a picture of all the students who qualify for special education in Section 504 over the past 5 years. This snapshot right here is showing from Snapshot Day, which is the last day in October, the last Friday. You will see, especially looking at special ed, the growth over the years. As we get to the last few years, the growth of almost 200 students or more over the last couple years from the 21-22, moving all the way through to the 23-24.
Annie, just a question on that. That's significant growth that goes way beyond our enrollment growth. What do you think the reasoning for that is?
Sure, and I'm going to cover that in a little bit too, Mr. Senna, for sure. And a lot of it's due to some of the changes in dyslexia, parent referrals. We have a really good MTSS system. However, parent referrals are kind of succeeding that. Right here, you'll see that there's 12 areas that students can qualify for special education. If you look at a learning disability, 654, that's gone up 178 since last year. When you qualify for dyslexia, you qualify with a specific learning disability. And so therefore that growth is showing in that area as it sits as our highest. On the next slide, we have our dyslexia. Currently, this is from October. We have 950 students. We have 420 that have 504 plans, and then the other 530 are under special education. But currently we have 976 students qualifying for dyslexia in the district. That's from the 950 goes back to that snapshot date again. House Bill 3928, if anyone's been following that, that's a lot of the dyslexia changes. What it does is any student who qualifies under special education for dyslexia and they need direct services, they must stay under special education. They cannot go over to 504 if they're going to receive those direct services. If they choose to decline those direct services, they can go to 504 with just accommodations. But that's where a lot of the growth is, Mr. Sen, on that too. We have our goals in our department. In the fall of 2022, we had Stetson and Associates perform a program review for special education. Those recommendations were brought to the board last year. From there, we formed a committee. We had teacher volunteers, we had parents, we had administrators, and with that, we formed 2 goals. The 2 goals cover, first, the area we talk about manuals. We also look at the ARD processes and our continuum of services. The second goal focuses on staff development, trying to meet the diverse needs of all of our students. This is our continuum of services. When you look at this, on your far right is our least restrictive environment, and then to your far left is the most restrictive. One unique thing about Boerne ISD is that we offer a continuum of services across every campus, which you do not see that in a lot of districts. We do not cluster specialized programs such as behavior or life skills, and so that gives every opportunity for kids to stay on their home campus, which is nice. And you look at this too, we started on the far left, you have the BEAR program. Beginning Early Achievement and Readiness is one of our new programs housed at Cibolo Creek Elementary School. +18 program. Currently, our 18+ program is housed at Cibolo Creek Elementary, and next year we're excited for the Mitchell Learning Center to open. This program is going to be a twofold. The first part will be what we're going to consider almost like a storefront. The students are going to make their own goods. They're going to make homemade bread. They're trying to have a garden to raise vegetables so they can make sandwiches to sell. They'll have a coffee shop. They'll also have other products that they will put out for sale for the community and anyone who wants to come by. So we're super excited about that. And then the other part, which they're doing a lot of right now, is working out in the community and job sites. So they'll continue that too. So there's 2 parts of that program that they can be part of. And this all focuses on their vocational skills. When we look at the community, we're very fortunate that we have such good community partners that we can take kids to meet their individual needs to different sites such as Flying Circle for Gear, Hill Country Daily Bread. We work in the North Cafeteria, and there's many other sites that we go out to help to students to improve their job skills and vocational. Community networking. When we keep these students till 21 or even when they graduate at 18, we have to make sure they're connected in the community afterwards. So there's great work partners that we have with us. The ARCA San Antonio. There's also the MAC Center, which is a lot of these are in San Antonio, but we're in the outreach connection with them. And there's the Texas Workforce Commission. We need to make sure they're connected so they have resources when they're done with BISD. The next few slides are my favorite. We have the KC Kids, the Kendall County Kids. We've been working with the Kendall County Fair Association on Labor Day weekend. They usually do it on a Thursday or Friday. They have all of our students in the life skills program come out and they enjoy the carnival. They get to see a full rodeo and a petting zoo. They're partnered with 4-H students to go around and do these activities. We started 6 years ago with 80 students. We're now up to 300, which is great, and this just continues to grow. Our next partnership is Believe It Bikes Foundation. 6 years ago, they donated 13 adaptive bikes to the district. And with that, each campus has an adaptive bike. And we put that together, and we did this in last October at Currington Elementary School, the Get Active Day. What that does is we partner with Kinetic Kids, Believe It Bikes, and host the Get Active Day. A couple other school districts do join us. It's a field day where they can use the adaptive bikes as one of the stations. Our partners for Partners PE that are at the middle school and the high school come down and help out with the stations. Generation Spirits, it's one of our new clubs that we started this year at both high schools. It's an inclusive cheer program put on by Varsity Spirit, and so we hope to have this continue. They go out and they cheer at they can be at a basketball game, football game, soccer, whatever the club decides to go and cheer for. And our Holiday Expo. Every December we have, and it's throughout the year too, our life skills programs work on their vocational skills and selling items. I know a lot of y'all are big supporters of them too. And they sell things like lanyards, cookies in a jar, cake pops, scents, bath scents, potpourri. And these are usually sold in December online, and they go to the Boerne Handmade Market as well. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Any questions or comments?
How many kids do we have in the 18 and over?
Currently we have 12, and next year we're looking at 20 to 22, depending on what their art determines. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Annie. We'll move on to action items now. We're going to go to instruction and talk about the public hearing of the 2022-2023 annual report. Ms. Flores, you're back.
Good evening. Good evening. As required by Texas Education Code, I will present to you the district's annual report for the 22-23 school year. The district's annual report is a compilation of several reports divided into 8 sections. The first one is known as the TAPER, the Texas Academic Performance Report, the Financial Report, Accreditation, District and Campus Improvement Plans, reports on crime, post-secondary, House Bill 3, and of course, finally, the glossary. The intent of the Texas Academic Performance Report is to inform the public about the educational performance of the district and each of the campuses related in that district. And it's a comparison with state and regional data. The Texas Academic Performance Report will present the campus performance information as well as student, staff, and financial information required by statute. It also includes any explanations and additional information deemed appropriate. It is compiled by TEA for every district and campus using PEIMS and student assessment data. And the TAPER is also published as a PDF on the TEA website. And it is linked here for your reference. The complete report. For the 22-23 school year, we had a recorded 10,707 students. Illustrated here are the racial and ethnic distribution, as well as our percentages for some of our sub-POPs. 28.5% were at risk, 7% emerging bilingual, 19.3% economically disadvantaged, 10% gifted and talented, 14% special education.
What constitutes at risk?
There is 14 criteria that must be met. any one of the 14 criteria for the students. Predominantly is if they've failed the STAR previously, if they are considered homeless. There's 15 different indicators. 14, 15, yes. That is a decrease from the year before. I will say that. This chart illustrates our student population by grade level, with 9th graders being our largest class last year. The TAPER report also lists staff demographics, our campus leadership and teachers' average tenure with the district, and overall experience with our teachers. The average teacher experience is 12.2 years. We had 1,255 staff members, an average teacher salary of $58,197, and an average turnover rate is 14.6%, which is well below the state average. Some additional information regarding our staff: the percentage of highest degree held by our teaching staff and years of experience, broken into year bands, with our highest group being having 11 to 20 years of experience for our teachers. A large portion of the TAPER report includes comprehensive data from the STAR assessments. As reported earlier in the year, our percentage of approaches, meets, and masters on all grades and all subject tests are shown here. BISD was well above region and state percentages. In the area of math, we test students in grade 3 through Algebra 1. Again, BISD's percentages are above the region and the state. In the area of reading, we test students in grade 3 through English 2. And again, BISD's percentages were above the region and the state.
You know, Larissa, you may not have an answer to this. I mean, our number is good at 92%, but the state made a big issue out of reading at grade level by the end of the 3rd grade. Has the state seen any progress since House Bill 3 went into effect?
I have not seen any data to answer that. No, I have, but I can definitely look into it. Domain 2 of our state accountability system is about academic growth, which in this year has 2 indicators. Annual growth, which is the percentage of our students making expected growth in reading and math tests from 22 to 23. And accelerated learning, which was also known as House Bill 4545. And these were students who were not successful on the 22 assessment. So BISD's growth for reading and math is above the state and the region. And our district goal for accelerated learning for the district was 50%, which we met. The TAPER report also sections out STAR data for our bilingual ESL and EB students. This chart shows the percentages of approaches, meets, and masters on all tests from last year to this year, with a slight gain in approaches, but we are staying steady with this subpopulation. Expected growth for this subpopulation is also noted here for reading and math specifically. The TAPER report also reports attendance, graduation, and dropout data. Now, this data does lag a year, so these are the results from the 21-22 school year. I'd like to point out that the chart with the diploma types, where it says foundation, no endorsement, is currently at 3.2%. The class of 2019 percentage was 16.6%, which was above the state average, and I'd like to just commend our high school principals, counselors, and deans for the work that they've done to ensure that our students are graduating with endorsements. Graduation comparison between the class of 21 and 22, and we're steady at 99%, above the region and the state as well when it comes to graduation. TAPER also reports on college, career, and military readiness, and we've seen a huge increase this year, 15% from the class of 21. Our AP results, SAT, dual credit, TSI, and all of those listed there continue to be above the region and the state percentages. Okay. Section 2. Financial reports. All revenues, expenditures, and disbursements for district and all campuses are linked here for your reference. Any questions, please talk to Mr. Scott. Not me. And the most recent data is from the 21-22 school year. Section 3 is our district accreditation status. So from the 22-23 school year, our district's accreditation status was accredited. Section 4, which is our campus and district improvement plans, are linked here for your reference. They were approved in October of 22 at the board meeting. Section 5, reporting on violent or criminal incidents. We are required to report on any violent or criminal incidents that occur on any of our campuses. For the 22-23 school year, 0 incidents at this level occurred, and linked here is the actual report that doesn't have anything on there, and also a list of our prevention interventions. Section 6, as part of the annual report, a report on student performance in post-secondary institutions during the first year enrolled after graduation from high school. This data is collected by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and the most recent report is for the 2021 high school graduates. So as you can see, CHS had 426 students graduating that year, and BHS had 280, and it's sectioned off by 4-year public, 2-year independent colleges, not trackable, and not found. I'm so sorry, that chart kind of screwed up a little bit. And this is for enrolled in Texas public or independent higher institutions.
As a parent of some of these kids, I can tell you that they constantly text and ask,
oh, yes,
what's your kid doing? Where's your kid attending? And just kind of a lot of questions like that. So I don't know if any of y'all have received those. Harlan, you haven't? Really? No, I get them for some odd reason.
Nobody's interested in my kids.
What's that?
Just making sure I'm reading it right. So this says for CHS, out of the 151 graduates that we could track that went to 4-year public institutions in Texas, almost half of them have over a 3.5.
That's correct. So the GPA earned by a student was from the fall of 21, spring of 22, and the summer, and they're added and averaged together for that determination.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, Section 7 requires each district to include the progress of the district in each campus toward meeting the House Bill 3 goals. The House Bill 3 goals include early child literacy and mathematics proficiency, which is grade 3 reading and math, and also CCMR. So linked here for your reference is our working document of our progress and goals and a sample presentation, but a brief summary just to for you. The 23 goals for literacy, math, and CCMR were met, and those are the percentage they were met by. And for 2024, these are our projected goals. And finally, Section 8, which is the glossary, which for this year states that currently the taper does not include scale scores, A through F ratings, distinction designations, or special education determination status. The initial release does not include the campus or district accountability reports, and the issuance of the A through F ratings under 2023 rule is pending and subject to change. I needed to say that, sorry. So the district's taper will be posted on the district's website within 2 weeks after this meeting. Paper copies will also be available at the district central office and on each campus. And for questions or more information, please feel free to call me. And at this time, Mr. President, I'm requesting a public hearing for the BISD 22-23 district annual report.
All right, it is 7:51, and we will open up the public hearing for the 22-23 annual report. Does anyone have any comments from the audience who wish to speak? Seeing no one rushing the podium, we will close the public hearing at 7:52. Any board members have questions for Ms. Flores?
Yeah, I have one question. There was a couple of slides back on CCMR, and I know last year we took a jump from 71 to 86, but that was for the previous year's graduates, correct?
Yes, CCMR data does lag a year.
It lags a year.
Attendance, graduation, dropout, all of that data CCMR lags 1 year.
And I know there is a big hubbub among a lot of districts in the state about the states changing in their ratings of school districts based largely on the CCMR change. Is that not correct?
That is correct, because they did change the cut point for what an A rating would be. It used to be 60, so you had to have at least 60% of your graduates at CC in order to get the A. They jumped that to 88.
And we were at an 86.
We were at 86.
Okay. And so, but we still, based on our own internal assessment, we still would have gotten an A.
That's correct, because we made such a huge increase from the year before. That definitely helped.
But the state couldn't release that because of the
We're still pending litigation, yes.
litigation. And by the time the litigation gets solved,
We'll have 24 results, I'm
yeah.
sure.
So I guess I'm wondering what's the point of the litigation? But I'm asking a legal question, and you're not a lawyer, and so no need to get into it. I think it's a waste of time, myself personally, but.
All right, this is an action item, so if I could take a motion to approve the annual report for 2022 and 2023 as presented.
So moved.
I have multiple motions and multiple seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passed. Jessica did have to depart to go take care of her daughter, so. Mr. Scott, we are up to business and talking about bonds.
All right, good evening. I guess just prior to getting started, I would contest that Ms. Flores is not an attorney, having witnessed a number of arguments in cabinet over the years. Say otherwise, but you do have before you parameter orders for the third and final bond sale of the 2022 bond authorization. This will be a sale for $55,640,000. We're going to do that sale right now. We're scheduled to do that on May the 7th. That'll be a Tuesday morning. We'll be here in the boardroom. We're going to have students attend like we did last year. By the way, as I'm rambling on here, Michelle Aragon here with Hilltop Securities. She'll stand up and say something if it requires an intelligent answer. Last year, we did have students attend the sale. I know just in the last couple of conferences I've been to, seen the underwriters from that deal, and they still talk about that sale and the level of interest the students show and the questions that they asked. They were really impressed with that. Certainly invite the board to attend that sale. So
How did we select those students?
We reach out to the all of the business teachers at both high schools, and they select. Sure. So with that, I would answer. Well, I guess I'll talk about structure for a second. We're going to do a fixed and variable sale. The fixed portion will be a short term. As we continue to work the numbers as we approach the month, that being dollar full payment we do in February 1 of 5. So it'll be a nice large result in is 2.5 years after the bond election will have issued all 165 million off at that point in time. And with that, question on the
I have a quick question. So at the end, when we're done selling, you said we're going to pay back 40 million of it?
Well, by February, we will have paid off 40 million of.
So essentially from that original amount, it's 40 million less is the total bond. That's fantastic.
Standing.
Wow. Great job. Thank you.
So it was 12 million at the end of 22, and what, another 15 million?
We did December.
In December, it's 27 plus 15, actually 42 to 45 million. That's over a quarter of the bond in 2.5 years. And we just paid off some series, did we not?
Yeah, and on February 1, we paid off 1999,000 on those two.
So the 99 series, that was the one that built South, Middle School South and Kendall. So that was a 25-year note. The 02 was a 22-year note. And I know most of the money for the 04 bond will be fully matured in 29. It's also a 25-year note. Because I know there was a lot of question. I guess I should know better than to look at Facebook, but Facebook was claiming we were going to do 40-year notes, and we don't do 40-year notes.
Well, I think, it's a reasonable just question. It's a ton of money that we're borrowing. And one of the things I know, Garrett, Rich, I think you probably know this too, but Garrett, every once in a while you mention, in addition to how much of this one series we're already paying off already, just what we've saved in defeasement and other things over the last few years. Do you happen to remember that? I'm putting you on the spot instead of Wes at the moment, but I'm sure Wes knows. But anyway, I think it's a good bit of information to get out, because that goes to the point that even if they're financed 30 years or whatever, we tend to and have had a history now over 15 years, even going to boards before most of us were here, of being pretty aggressive on paying off debt as soon as possible. So anyway, I didn't know if there was a summary that you or Rich had of that over the last 10 years or so, or maybe Wes, that we've saved through refinancing, defeasement, things like that, paying off early.
I think Dr. Kraft's got a slide on that she's going to present at the State of the District on Thursday. And trying to remember that number off the top of my head, I think we did refundings and defeasements since 2019. I think that amounted to $65 million. Please don't quote.
Yeah, the 13 series, it was $100 million. We refied in late 19, and that saved us $33 million of interest. And so when you look at the lifeline of that payoff, it's for every $2 of principal, you have $1 of interest. And if you look at mortgage amortization schedules, you'll normally see it's the other way. For every $1 of principal on a home, it might be $1.50 of interest. Well, that series, because we got it on a low rate, and that saved us a lot. And the same thing with the 04 bond and some other bonds as well.
What was the interest savings on just the early pay down on the 2022 series, or just the $160 million bond that we passed here? That was like $15 million already in early savings.
Mr. Scott, I found the slide. It's a little preview to Thursday. Total interest savings since the 2016, $57.8 million.
Always a good reminder. Thanks, Joe. Any further questions for Mr. Scott on the bond issuance? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the district's bond order. I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. And Mr. Scott, your second item is your monthly financial reports.
Okay, you've been provided with the results of operations for the district through January 31st, 2024. The significant items in this report, the first item would be a budget amendment. That budget amendment is for a TRS on behalf. That is to account for, normally when we adopt the budget, TRS on behalf is what it was the year before. As we get a feel for what is going to happen with payroll and compensation, we adjust to the new levels, and so that's all this is doing at this point in time. As a reminder, TRS on behalf is primarily an accounting function at the local government level. That's a contribution made by the state to our employees on their behalf for the pension, and that $800,000 budget amendment is for revenue and expense. It's a net zero effect on the second item that I would point you to is the tax collection report. We've been talking for a few months about collections being under they had in previous years at this point in time. And the theory was that that higher interest rates were had some folks to wait for payments. That proved out of January, where we're actually a little ahead of what we typically see at this point, almost to the tune of an entire percent. So with that, if there are, be happy to answer questions. Budget amendments, tax collections.
Yeah, just a question on the pass-through for TRS. What's the total amount of that? With the amendment, what's the total amount of that?
The amendment is about 5.4 million.
Okay, so really, in a matter of speaking, since it's the state's contribution to our teachers' retirement system, and then the expenditure goes out, it really, for PEMS, they don't count that in as money spent per student, right? So that's 5.4 million, about 5.5% of our budget that really is not in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. The only question I had on intergovernmental charges, how do we calculate or budget the expected amount that we pay to appraisal districts? Because I see this year it's $1,160,000. That's a pretty significant increase. What's the logic for, they raised our fees, obviously. And how do we calculate that?
So the district is responsible for a percentage of the 3 appraisal districts that we're a part of within our geopolitical boundaries, and those percentages vary, of course. For Kendall County, we're pay for % of the budget, a much smaller percentage for Boerne County. We get the budgets sometime in the spring and incorporate that into the. There has been significant increases, not only to, I know Kendall has had to deals escalating our contracted services to address the commercial.
So 55% of their budget we pay.
Yes, sir.
And that's commensurate, I assume, with the percentage of tax revenue that's generated by the school district?
It is a percentage of, yes, that affects.
And the reason I ask that is our rates, our tax rates are coming down much more rapidly than any other governmental entity. So is there a possibility that in coming years, the percentage of the appraisal district budget, that our percentage may go down?
It's always worth examining and talking to the board for the.
Wes, one question on the tax collection report. So in October, when you have the first month where you can pay early and get the 3% discount, we know that the appraisal district was overwhelmed with payments and it took a long time for those funds to flow to us.
Yes, sir.
With taxes being technically due in January, do we know that did that same trend carry over where they maybe had a bunch of payments at the end of January and haven't processed all those through to us?
Yeah, they normally get most of their payments that very last day of the month, and we're still getting the bulk of those anywhere from 8 to 12 days after. Take a lot of process because they have to process each one. Somebody through a processing company takes some time.
So the 1.12% that our tax collection is better this year than the same time last year likely could improve even. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Because penalties start accruing in February, don't they?
Any further questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments, donation report, and tax collection reports as presented.
Mr. President, I move to approve the budget amendments, donation report, and tax collection as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Last item on the agenda is future business items for our March 25th meeting. We have approved textbook adoption, IMA antique certification, progress monitoring interim report, staffing projections and compensation scenarios, and then E-rate consent. Any other items to come before the board? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, and it is 8:08.